Picture this, it's 1900, and British colonial forces have just seized the Golden Stool, the most sacred symbol of the Ashanti people in what is now Ghana. The men are hesitant to fight back against the mighty British Empire. But then, a 60-year-old woman stands up in the assembly, her voice cutting through the silence like a sword. This is Yaa Asantewaa, and she's about to change history. To understand Yaa Asantewaa's extraordinary courage, we need to step back into the world of the Ashanti Empire. For centuries, the Ashanti had built one of West Africa's most powerful kingdoms, rich from gold trade and governed by sophisticated political systems. The Golden Stool wasn't just furniture, it was believed to contain the soul of the entire Ashanti nation. When the British demanded it as a symbol of their conquest, they were essentially asking the Ashanti to surrender their very identity. Yaa Asantewaa wasn't born to rule. She became Queen Mother of Ejisu, one of the Ashanti territories, through her role as the mother of the local chief. In Ashanti culture, Queen Mothers held significant political power, advising rulers and sometimes selecting new kings. But what made Yaa Asantewaa extraordinary wasn't her title. It was her unshakable resolve when her people needed leadership most. The British had already exiled the Ashanti king, Prempeh the First, along with other leaders to the Seychelles Islands. They thought removing the male leadership would crush any resistance. They were wrong. When the remaining chiefs gathered to discuss the British ultimatum about the Golden Stool, many felt defeated. The British had superior weapons, trained soldiers, and seemed unstoppable. That's when Yaa Asantewaa delivered one of history's most powerful speeches. She declared that if the men wouldn't fight for their freedom, she would lead the women into battle herself. Her exact words, preserved in Ashanti oral tradition, still give people goosebumps today. She said that she would call upon the women to fight until the last of them fell in the battlefield. Her words ignited something extraordinary. Warriors who had been paralyzed by fear suddenly found their courage. Here was a grandmother, not a trained military commander, willing to face the British Empire head-on. If she could be brave, how could they remain silent? Within days, thousands of Ashanti fighters rallied behind her banner. The war that followed became known as the War of the Golden Stool, and it was unlike anything the British had experienced in their colonial conquests. Yaa Asantewaa didn't just inspire from the sidelines, she actively led military strategies, coordinated attacks, and maintained morale during the darkest moments. Her forces used guerrilla tactics, striking British positions and disappearing into the forest. For months, her army held the British at bay. They besieged the British fort at Kumasi, trapping the colonial governor and his forces inside. The British, who had expected quick submission, found themselves fighting a determined enemy who knew the terrain and fought with the fury of people defending their sacred heritage. What makes Yaa Asantewaa's story even more remarkable is how she maintained unity among diverse groups. The Ashanti Confederation included many different communities, each with their own interests. Yet under her leadership, they fought as one people. She understood that this wasn't just about political independence, it was about preserving their culture, their dignity, and their right to exist as Ashanti people. Eventually, British reinforcements arrived, and superior firepower began to tell. Yaa Asantewaa was captured in 1901 and exiled to the Seychelles, where she died 20 years later, never seeing her homeland again. But her sacrifice wasn't in vain. The British never got the Golden Stool, and her resistance became a symbol that inspired future independence movements across Africa. Today, Yaa Asantewaa is remembered as the warrior queen, who proved that courage has no gender, and that even the mightiest empires can be challenged by those who refuse to surrender their freedom. Her legacy lives on in Ghana, where schools, hospitals, and monuments bear her name. She showed the world that sometimes, when everything seems lost, it takes just one person's extraordinary bravery to light the flame of resistance that can never truly be extinguished.